Hello everyone, welcome to today's webinar titled Demystifying WannaCry Attack and 3 Steps to Tackle It. I am Pavish Kumar, an IT security researcher and managing engine. I'll be handling this webinar for today. If you have any issues in viewing my screen, please use the chat option to let me know so that I can work on it. Similarly, for those of you who might be experiencing issues with your audio, please make sure that you use the chat option to let me know so that I can correct it immediately. So I'm going to give a 30-second delay to make sure that the connection is stable for all our attendees. So please stay with me before the start of the webinar. If you're able to view my screen properly and hear my voice properly, please use the hand raise option to let me know so that we can begin with today's webinar. Yes, I'm seeing a lot of hands being raised there. I guess we can begin today's webinar. So if you have any questions in between the webinar, you can feel free to ask your queries in the question and answer section. We'll be able to answer your queries over the session itself immediately. And if by any chance your question goes unanswered, you can be assured that we'll be sending you mails after the end of today's webinar regarding your query. So this is the agenda for today. The first part is going to be all about WannaCry, how WannaCry happened and how it proliferated. So this is going to be a very short topic. We would have already seen that in our previous webinars. If any of you have missed the previous webinar, you can always go to our YouTube channel or our website to have a recap on WannaCry. So we're going to see 3 simple steps to tackle WannaCry and other ransomwares, and you're going to see how Manage Engine can help you deal with such an attack. Yes, so before we move on with dealing with WannaCry, so we are going to see how WannaCry works, because it is the first and most important step before we can prevent such an attack from happening. Let us see how the work pattern of WannaCry. So let me give a short history before we dive right into it. So WannaCry began on Friday, the 12th of May, and caused a massive global cyber attack. It has spread over 230,000 systems across 150 countries. So this specific ransomware spreads by exploiting a vulnerability in Windows. It is the vulnerability in the SMB protocol, the SMB implementation from Microsoft. SMB stands for Server Message Blocks, which is the basic block of any file share or a network share on your Windows machine. So Microsoft was fast enough to release a critical security patch 2 months ago, but this issue still seemed to persist and spread. WannaCry used this to spread across the entire globe due to most companies using outdated version of Windows, mainly Windows versions from Windows XP to Windows 8. So this is how WannaCry works. So there are 2 parts to this specific ransomware. So one such part is what we call the dropper, and the other one is the encryptor. So this dropper is responsible for WannaCry entering into your specific network and your computer. So what this dropper does initially is, once it enters into any one computer on your network, it queries a hard-coded URL. So this is a specific non-existent URL that WannaCry queries in order to make sure that it is not in a sandboxed environment. So most security researchers use sandbox environment to detect such ransomwares, and the designers for this specific ransomware had made sure that anyone who's trying to figure out the work pattern of WannaCry does not do it by querying that hard-coded URL. So once the query succeeds, which happens in any sandbox environment, the the WannaCry immediately stops its execution. If the query does not succeed, which is the most expected result, WannaCry starts to encrypt all your files and spread across your network. But this may not always be the case because most researchers might also not establish a connection and WannaCry could spread. So one such security researcher found out that WannaCry always queries a single hard-coded URL and sync hold that specific URL, thereby slowing down WannaCry's attack. But that is not always, we cannot always ensure that that will stop WannaCry from proceeding, because most environments, most corporate environments block certain domains from being queried. So in that case, WannaCry, the query from WannaCry always will fail and WannaCry will start its execution. So once the malware, I mean, in this case, once this ransomware executes, it uses SMB vulnerability. So this is a vulnerability in SMB version 1.0. So it uses this specific vulnerability and installs itself as a service which is named MSSEC VC 2.0. So once this service is installed, it scans all the machines in your local network using the SMB vulnerable ports, and if it finds any open connection available, it spreads to that machine by using this vulnerability in Windows. So this is how SMB spreads throughout your network. So this is the main functionality of the dropper. So once this dropper spreads across the network using this SMB vulnerability, the encryptor, which is bundled with the dropper, starts to execute a process called task sche.exe, and it begins encrypting all the files on your computer. So this is the basic functionality and working of WannaCry. Just a quick recap of how WannaCry works. So only when we know how a specific malware or a ransomware works, we'll be able to make sure that we stay protected from that specific malware in our network. So this is the profile of WannaCry, which I'm sharing with you. So as I said, there is a file called mssecsvc.exe, an executable file, which installs itself as a service. So this is the loader and the worm component, the component that spreads across your entire network by exploiting the SMB vulnerability. So there is another part of this is called task sche.exe, which is another main executable file, which is also a loader bundled with this WannaCry. And the name of the encryptor is not exactly available, which takes random names, but which is just a DLL file loaded by tasks.sch.exe. So there is a decryptor available with WannaCry named as WannaDecryptor. Uh, this decryptor enables and starts decrypting the files once you pay the ransom in Bitcoins. So that is how WannaCry has been designed. So also, in order to persist in your specific machine and not be uninstalled or removed entirely, WannaCry uses two registry keys with the same pattern here. So it registers itself into HKCU software / Microsoft Windows current version / ran / a random key name with a value called task sche.exe. So it registers two separate registry keys with the same pattern to make sure that it persists on your computer. So before we move on with the three steps to deal with WannaCry, if any of you have any queries regarding as to how WannaCry works, or if you require any further detail, please use the question answer section to ask us so that we'll be able to answer them before we move on with steps to deal with WannaCry. So if you are ready to move on with the next part, please use the hand raise option to let me know so that I'll be able to move on with the next part of the webinar. So I'm going to give you the 10-second delay. Yes, I guess most of you would have done a bit of research on your side and known how WannaCry already works. So let us see the steps to deal with WannaCry. So I'm going to give you generic steps, and after that I'm going to show you how to use Log360 to prevent such an attack from happening on your network. So these are the generic steps that you can adapt in order to prevent yourself from a WannaCry or any ransomware attack on your network. So you have to make sure that you seal all the security loopholes. We'll look into that in detail. And auditing the activities happening in your network, and file integrity monitoring is one of the major steps involved in dealing with ransomwares and compliance purposes. So in sealing security loopholes, you have to make sure that you check out all the vulnerable ports in your network. So this is an important and essential step. You have to make sure that you have a list of ports that are available. You have to ensure that your firewall rules are proper and consistent throughout your network, and you only allow certain specified ports with respect to how your corporate environment works. And the second and one of the most important steps is to keep your software updated. Main reason why WannaCry was able to spread across so many computers in a short period of time is because most organizations, including major organizations, use outdated version of Windows. So as you can see that Windows XP was one of the major reasons why WannaCry was able to spread throughout all these different computers, ranging from Windows XP to Windows 8. But most customers usually come back to us saying that they cannot update the operating system on their network because certain enterprise solutions break when the operating system gets updated. So that might be a reason why most organizations do not tend to update their version of Windows or any software for that cause. But in order to do, but another reason is since Microsoft already gave you a patch, since Microsoft found out such an issue has been existent and it released a patch 2 months earlier, not updating that critical security patch is a major reason why this WannaCry virus was able to spread throughout the globe. So you have to make sure that you stay updated with all the current trends in terms of security, and you update your computer properly in terms of such patches. So after the spread of WannaCry, Microsoft also provided a patch for Windows XP. So if you're still using older version of Windows, please make sure that you apply all the patches from Microsoft and stay updated. This is step 2. Another major step, it does not only involve with WannaCry, it involves itself with detecting malicious activities in your network, ranging from malicious activities to malwares and ransomwares throughout your network. So it is essential for you to audit all the activities happening in your network. So you have to make sure that you look out for any malicious software that is being installed in any of your machines in the network. And you have to make sure that you do not allow any unauthorized process or service being started in the network. And if by any chance they get started, it is essential for you to be notified and take measure immediately. So based on several data from various sources in your network, you'll have to correlate, you'll have to require a means to correlate those data into a more meaningful content and take immediate security actions for such incidents. And it is essential to track anomalous user activities as well. So Log360 can provide you all these abilities from a single console in the means of reports, correlation alerts, and alerts in general. So you can use Log360 to monitor all these activities just by scheduling a report every day and making sure that nothing wrong happens on your network. So this is another part. As I said, file integrity monitoring is essential in order to detect ransomwares and also for your compliance needs. So it is essential that you monitor all the critical files and folder subsystems in your network. So which includes file creations, deletions, modifications, renames, and permission changes. So it is essential for you to monitor the integrity so that any ransomware in general makes the working of any ransomware in general is to get access to your files and encrypt those files and demand a ransom from you in order to decrypt them back. So if you have file integrity monitoring solution on your enterprise, you will be able to identify these changes happening across your network, and once you detect something happening out of the ordinary, you'll be able to take measure almost immediately. So Log360 also allows file integrity monitoring with the means of event log analyzer. You can make use of that specific option to monitor all the files, all your critical files, and so for the subsystems in your network, along with auditing those devices. Let us move on to how to use Log360 to detect, contain, and assess the impact of a WannaCry attack. So if you have your Log360 console right in front of me, you can follow me as I show you how you can set up an alert and try to set up the alert yourself. Or if not, you need not worry. We'll be sharing you the recorded link of this specific webinar, and we'll be also sharing you the slides so that you can try that after the end of the webinar. So these are the three steps that Log360 can help you in. So the first step is using alerts to figure out an ongoing attack. So the second step is once such an attack occurs, you need to manage the incident. You have to take an immediate reactive measure. So we are going to see how to manage incidents using Log360. And if by any chance an attack has already happened and you want to assess the impact of such an attack, you can use Log360 to perform a forensic analysis based search, using which you can analyze the extent of how much the attack has left an impact over your network. So let us move on. I'm going to move on with the first part. I'm going to show you how you can set up an alert using Log360 with respect to WannaCry. So since this webinar deals with WannaCry attack, I'm going to show you how to do that with WannaCry. And when any security incident happens, once you know such an incident has occurred, you will be immediately able to find the profile for such an attack. So as I said, most security researchers try to figure out the profile for any kind of malware or ransomware that occurs in a global scale. Once you get news of such an attack, you can use the profile to create an alert yourself. So I'm going to show you how you can use this specific profile to create an alert for WannaCry in Event Log Analyzer. So if you have any queries so far, please use the chat option to let me know. Or if you would like me to move on with the next part in order to show you how to set up the alert, please use the hand raise option so that I can immediately proceed with that. So I'm going to give you a 10-second time interval for the same. So I guess I can move on with setting up an alert for WannaCry. So this is my event log analyzer console. So this is my web console for event log analyzer. So these are several alerts that I've received previously. So I'm going to create a new alert profile. So I can just give add alert profile. I'll be redirected to this page. So let us see what we know about this specific ransomware. So it creates a process and installs itself as a service, which is named MSSEC SVC. So let us let us first give the name. Let us say WannaCry attack. So this is a severity, which is, we can give a high severity for this. And let me select all the devices associated with my ELA, which has been configured in my event log analyzer console. And I'm going to create a custom alert. The first step is that I know such a service gets installed due to WannaCry installs such a service in my computer. So let me set up an alert for that first. So this event ID for service installation, there are two different event IDs. One is 601 and the other one is 4697. So if you're not sure about the event IDs, you can always refer Microsoft's knowledge database in order to find the event IDs associated with any of these events. So the first event is a service installation, which is associated with 601 and 4697. So I'm just going to give a condition where event ID equals 601, 4697, which actually means that if any such event ID is detected, either 601 or 4697, this alert will be triggered. This is step number one. So with respect to the service being installed, I know the name of the service. So I'm just going to add another condition here. And in the drop down, I'm going to search for service name. So the name of the service, as I know, is mssec.svc.exe. So let me not give the entire thing, SEC Let me just give service name contains mssec.svc. All right, so now I've configured this alert for a service being installed which contains this specific name. So the next step, as I know, I can configure several alerts for the same profile here. So one for the service installation, one for the process creation, one for the encryption of files. So I'm going to combine a few of these alerts into a single alert profile. This is step number one. The next step is for the new process being created. So I know that a new process called task schc.exe gets created. The event ID for a new process creation is 4688. So I'm going to give that with event ID itself, and I'm going to add another condition where I'm going to specify the name of the process. So I'm just going to search for process name, and I'm going to give the value task SCHE. So let's give task SCHE, and I'm going to go with the contains logic here. So as I've configured two different parameters for the alert here, two entirely different events, with I'm going to change this into a logical OR based condition here with respect to the second part. So what this actually means is if any of these event ID gets encountered, and under this condition, under the second condition, if any of these events, either if the service name equals MSSVC or SVC, or if the process name contains task SCHE, this alert should get triggered. And I also know that a new registry key is also added. So the event ID for the new the registry key addition is 4657, which is actually the event ID for a registry value being modified, which is the same for a registry key being created. So I know I can give another logical OR condition, and the key name can be found in the specific can be found in the field called object name, and the value for that key can be found in the object key called object value. So I'm going to give the object value as the value which is specified here. So this is the name of the key, and this is the name of the value. So I need not specify the entire key. I'm just going to specify the value as task sehe.exe. So which I can give as object value equals, I can just copy this and specify contains condition for the same. Right, so this is my alert that I'm configuring for WannaCry. So if any of these event occurs with any of these conditions, we can be assured that it is a WannaCry attack that is happening on your network. So once I set the custom alert criteria for this, I'm not going to choose any of these advanced options, because even if one such attack happens, I would like to be immediately notified. So I'm not going to go with threshold or a time range. So I want to make sure that event log analyzer detects the alert throughout the entire time period. So in the notification section, I can either give my email ID here in order to get notified through email, or give my SMS mobile number here to be notified by SMS. So there's another important option here to run or execute a script when such an attack happens. So this is a very important feature in order to take immediate measures when such incidents happen on your network. So if you configure a script file, when such an alert gets triggered, the script will be immediately executed. So script is custom written, and it can be written by you, and you can pass arguments from these conditions. So you can pass the source, the name of the device in which the event is occurring, and the criticality of that specific event through the arguments that are specified, that you can specify here. So this script will be executed based with these arguments that you specify. You can configure multiple notification options. Of course, you can give email and run a program, and also configure SMS. So it is based on your need. And by default, if you have any queries as to how to create a script for such events, you can find the option under tools. So in your event log analyzer installation, you can find a folder called tools, inside which you can find another subfolder called scripts. These are some of the predefined scripts that we provide with event log analyzer for your reference. So these are just model scripts for your reference. You can refer these scripts to write your own with respect to your environment. So these are some scripts. So I'm going to choose any of the script here. Let me just choose ALA script. Okay. And I can just add the alert profile. So the alert profile gets added immediately. So I've just shown you how you can configure an alert profile based on the profile of the malware or the ransomware. So this is why you have to make sure that you learn or know when a security incident occurs. So maybe it a global incident or a small incident, you have to be updated with such instance. So you can use manage engines blocks to know about such instance, and you can always make sure you get the webinar alerts regarding such events from happening. So you may have several sources for the same. So you can use any of such source to get the profile of such an attack, and you can use that profile to create an alert profile in event log analyzer. So once such an alert happens, you'll be immediately notified. So I have apart from this, you might also want to make sure that you have a file integrity monitoring based alert on your network. So that is what I've initially configured here, which I've also named WannaCry task. So I've simulated all these events based on file integrity monitoring. So file integrity monitoring is fairly very simple. You can go to the file monitoring tab, and if most of you would have already configured this, and if by any chance you have not configured it, you can choose the add option there. You will find an option to add a device for file integrity monitoring. The steps are fairly very simple. You can just choose the device and the location in which you have to monitor, and it will install a agent on that machine and immediately monitor all the files on that machine. So I have only one device that I've configured in this installation, and I have generated I've simulated a number of file-based events, and I've created an alert using this add alert option that you can find here. So I've just created a file integrity monitoring based alert, and I've chosen to monitor any event happening across my files. So since I've already named that as WannaCry attack, so these are the file integrity monitoring attacks that I've received previously on this specified date. So I've received these alerts on May 19th. So after I've configured this alert, so I have around 141 such alerts. So now I know that such an attack has happened, but I have not configured a script to run when such an attack happens. So what I can do here is, as an admin, I can assign an incident to a specific person. So the script that I've added, I have not added here. So if you add a script to remove that machine from the network, you'll still be able to find all the alerts here, and you can assign this alerts to specific people for accountability purposes. So let us say that you have several administrators, and you want to make sure that you subdivide these alerts and hold a specific administrator accountable for an alert or an incident that has occurred on your network. This is the second part, which corresponds to managing such instance on your network. So this is the second part here. So you can just edit an alert, and you can assign it to anybody, any admin that you have configured in event log analyzer. So you can just give assign to, and you can specify the status, and you can just save it. So for users, for administrators, you can use a my alerts option that you can find on the left pane here to view all the alerts that have been assigned in your name. So based on the alert, you can choose the status of that alert, whether or not it is in progress, or whether it has been closed, and you can add additional notes regarding the same. So this can be used for any of your future reference. You can use this any time period or interval to see whether such an attack has happened. It is a maintenance of history, and it is an essential accountability feature that you can make use of in event log analyzer. So far I've covered on how to set up an alert for a WannaCry attack, and I've shown you how you can assign an incident to a specific person in order to make sure that they are held accountable for such an incident and for all the measures that they can take. So the third part is assessing the impact of such an attack. So if you have any queries up until now, please use the chat option or the question answer section to ask us the same. So I'll be able to answer them before moving on and showing you how you can assess the impact of such an attack. So I'm going to give you another 10-second delay here. So please make use of the question and answer section if you have any queries regarding setting up the alert for WannaCry. If you would like me to move on with the next part, please use the hand raise option so that I'll be able to know that I can move on with the next part. Yes, I'm seeing a lot of hand raise. So I guess I can move on with the assessing the impact of such an attack happening on your network. So let us say that this attack has happened on your network. You figured a way to stop this attack, and now we want to know that how much this attack has impacted your network. So this is very essential, especially if you are any organization where compliance is very essential. So in such cases, you have to present a proper audit report with regards to the impact of any such incident happening over your entire network. So let us see how that can be done. So before moving on to that, I'm also going to show you that under correlation, we have a file integrity monitoring rule which is predefined, in which you can find any kind of file-based event occurring that has occurred throughout your network. So you can set up alerts here too if you would like to get or receive such alerts for those events. So let me show you, let us move on with the topic. So you can use the search option, the search tab here, to perform a forensic analysis of all the events that has occurred on your network. So we are going to use the same in order to detect the impact and of how much the WannaCry virus has left on your network. So if you just give 2 here, you can find a list of all the actions that has occurred on my specific installation here. I mean on the machines that I've configured in this specific event log analyzer installation. So I'm just going to increase the view per page to 500 here. Yes, so this is the list of all several instances that has occurred over this specified time period up here. So let us, you can base the search criteria based on complex search, or you can use this simple handpick option in order to search throughout the entire logs. So as I know this I have only one device, so if you have several devices, if you want to drill down the event for a specific device, we can just click upon the name of the device. So this will automatically be filtered. As you can see, the device name is added up there, and all the events corresponding through that device is automatically filtered. Now, since I've simulated most of these events, I made sure that this attack does not spread, and I created a sub category, I mean a part of WannaCry which only encrypts the files on my machine. So I've simulated most of these events with this process name here. So this is something that I created by myself. If you'd like to go with the actual WannaCry definition, you can just search by giving process name equals, we can use a wildcard here. Here I'm going to go with, as you know, the process name is always task sche.exe. You can use this search term and specify task sche star. So this will drill down all the events with the process name that contains task he. So let us, we also know that WannaCry has a file name definition which is named WNCRY, which is not always the case. Sometimes it can rename the files as WNCRYPT. So that is another file extension which is associated with WannaCry. So we are going to search and drill down the logs based upon the name of the file, the extension of the file. And this is one option. We can also do that with the help of service name. So I can search based on service name equals the name of the service, which is MS SEC SVC. So now we know how important it is to know the profile of any malware that you might want to assess. So once you know the profile, it becomes fairly simple for you to analyze the impact of such a malware on your network. Or if you'd like to know the file integrity based events, you would like to drill down all the file integrity based events, you can just click upon the event ID for FIM, or which is available here. So the handle to an object, the close handle to the object, or the object deleted event ID is 4660. So if you just click upon 4660, all the events that corresponds to the deletion will get filtered, and you can find these. So what WannaCry does is it creates temporary files in order to encrypt all the files on your network. So it creates temporary files itself, which we can be ensured. You can just choose the delete file deleted option here to view all the logs pertaining to that. So I'm going to search with the, as I said earlier, I'm going to search with the file rename option to know the number of files that have been renamed on my network. So in order to assess how many critical files that I've lost due to WannaCry, that is how many critical files have been encrypted. So let me just go and search with file name equals. So I'm going to give a wildcard here because I know I only have the extension with me. So wildcard I use here is star, which means any. Okay, I'm going to give star dot WNCRY. So I know that there are two different file extensions associated. One is WNCRY, the other one is WNCRYPT. So I'm just going to give another star here as another wildcard. So this is my search term, and all I have to do is give go. As you can see, I have lost 14 files, which is not always the case. I've simulated this on my environment. You would lose several files throughout your entire computer. So all those files will be listed, and you can find the name of the file here. So it has been renamed. So there has been a rename event that has occurred immediately after the file being modified. The file has been modified and it has been renamed. So that is how a WannaCry has worked. So it has modified the content of the file and it has renamed to the WNCRY file format. So you can find that I have 14 such events, and with the help of this you can drill down individual file names and assess it immediately. So you can use this the export option to export the list of these files for all your auditing needs or compliance needs, in order to make sure that you present a proper in order to make sure that you present proper information on the total impact of such an attack that has happened on your network. So it is fairly very simple, as I've shown you right now. So this is just one search term, one option. So you can use the advanced search query option to logically and or operations. You can use and or in order to combine several search terms together. So similar, you can just use an and operation to for the process name that equals task sche.exe. So this is the third part that I've shown you right now, the part which includes assessing the impact of such an attack that has happened on your network. So I've used WannaCry as an example to show you how you can assess a malware or a ransomware, or be it any attack that has occurred on your network. So similarly, if you know the definition of any such attack, or if you would like to create a general definition, for example, with respect to file monitoring, you can create a general definition that multiple files have been modified, which is the general definition of any ransomware. So you can use that, you can create an alert, or you can perform a forensic search based on that in order to know if such event has occurred on your network. So these are the sources that I've used for today's webinar. So at the end of this webinar, if you require the slide, I'll be able to share them with you via email. So if you require it, please let me know. And with that, we've come to the end of today's webinar. If you have any queries, please use the question and answer section to ask me the questions. Or if you have any other suggestion to tell, you can do the same using the question and answer section. You can use, if you have any queries after this webinar, you can use this mail address. You can use evenlog-support@manageengine.com. You can write to us there and we'll be able to answer your queries via email. Yes, some of you require the slides. I'll be sharing you the slides. You need not worry about that. So I'll share the link once this video gets uploaded, along with the link for the slide for all the attendees. So you need not worry. Yes, some of you require the steps to create the alert. Okay, we'll be sharing the same. Please make sure that you raise a support ticket. Please write to us at evenlog-support. A support ticket will be raised and all your queries will be immediately answered via email. So you need not, please make sure that you mail that. And at the, I'm going to end the webinar right now, and you will be presented with a survey report that you can fill up. You can give your feedback. You can give both your positive and your negative feedback. Or if you have any suggestions to improve our webinar series or our workshop series, you can specify the same in your feedback, and we'll be able to understand your requirements and have future events based on your requirements. Thank you all for attending today's webinar. I hope you had a good time, and please write to us if you have any other further queries. Thank you.